and welcome to the Visionary VA podcast, the go-to show for ambitious virtual assistants who are ready to stop trading their time for money and start scaling their businesses into thriving agencies. I'm Holly Copsey, founder of the award-winning agency Virtually Priceless and the Visionary VA Circle community. Each week, I'm here to bring you actionable strategies, proven systems, and mindset shifts to help you transition from a solo VA to a visionary agency owner. If you're ready to grow your business to dizzying new heights with less stress and more success, you're in the right place. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Visionary VA podcast. I am delighted to introduce our guest today, the lovely Emma Mills, founder of MiPA. For those of you who don't know Emma, she is an award-winning business owner and has built one of the most successful virtual PA and call answering companies in the UK, and now supports some of the country's leading business owners, directors and entrepreneurs in the UK and Europe. Emma founded MiPA in 2008 after several years as an executive PA herself. She loved giving people the gift of time and wanted to do more of it. Emma also hosts a podcast called Focus on the Fun Stuff. In each episode, she uncovers how successful individuals find joy and fulfillment while building their businesses, including inspirational stories and practical tips that you can implement to embrace the passion and play in your business life. So welcome, Emma, and thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, wow. No, thank you for having me. What an awesome intro. That was great. Thank you.
So I've been following Emma's journey for several years now, and I think I came across you, Emma, within the first few months of setting up my business. I used to follow James Sinclair a lot, and I think I heard you on his podcast. So my children used to go to his nursery, and I used to live in South Woodham, where his business is. So I think that's where I came across you. You've been an absolute inspiration to me. So I thought it'd be great for our audience to learn a bit more about you and your business, because you are doing things slightly differently, I think, from most of our VA audience, in that you have an employed team and you have an actual real life office. So it'd be really good to get a different perspective. So could you please maybe start by just giving us an overview of your journey and how you've gone from the employed world to running your own PA business, and what led you to make the transition?
So I started my business in 2008, which feels like a long time ago. It is a long time ago, but also just in terms of the word virtual assistant, the industry was nothing like it is now. And I was a PA. The short story is I went to uni. It was not for me. I did a year, didn't enjoy it, didn't know what I was going to do in my life. Got a job in an office, just doing admin, office junior, and had some different roles, ended up in a business that was very fun, really nice. Well, when I say really fun, it was actually a crane hire business, but they were on fast growth, fast trajectory. At the time, they were building the 3G networks around the country. And so there's a lot going on, and the directors were growing and needed a PA. And they said to me, Emma, we're going to advertise for this externally. I think you should apply for it. And I did. And that was my first role as a PA, so probably about 21 then, I would think. And it was really fun. I left after about 3 years just because it was more like a corporate hospitality role in the end. Every weekend and evening was like they had a box or they were entertaining someone. And that was really glamorous and fun to start with. And then it's a bit same. This is not testing my brain anymore. I'm just doing guest lists and the same thing. So I then, I guess very quickly, I had in my head that I would love to be an EA, a PA in a corporate business, like really big. I literally wanted to be in a business where you're a number, like it's huge. Wanted to try something different because my previous experience was really small business, like fast and entrepreneurial, but relatively small business in terms of team. Went to a recruitment agency and was like, right, got it. We have got a role next week, which is literally 3 days, and it's not big. There's like 3 people in the company, but they've got lots of meetings with the bank, and they just need someone to go and make sure the meetings run smoothly, blah, blah, blah. Went and did that. And basically it turned from 3 days into a week, into another week. And it was the complete opposite of what I had in my mind. But Oliver, who I was a PA to, he was still is a very entrepreneurial property developer. And oh my God, that was probably, if people go to uni and do business studies, this was the MBA in real life. When you like right by somebody's side in a business as a PA, and you are witness to every single thing that is going on, and whether it's a fun thing, a stressful thing, I was fully at the coal face of everything going on. Oliver would just get stuff done. Nothing stood in his way. And what I learned from him was that no problem is insurmountable. Like, he would go under it, he would go over it, he would go around it. I had what I consider probably, I'm an only child, quite a sheltered upbringing, Oliver, and working for him in this little business that was, from the outside, our office looks like decrepit. On the inside, there was so much going on, so much being grown, wealth accumulated. There was a lot going on. And after about 3 years of working for him, don't get me wrong, it was also a very, you can imagine when you're working next to somebody who just is working around the clock, you're like, yeah, after 3 years, I was a bit like, I really enjoy the relationship of a PA that they have. So when you really get that impact of making someone's, like I say to my team in here, no problem, I've got it, don't worry. Even if you have absolutely no idea how to figure it out, yeah, you're just like, right, okay, no problem, yeah, well, and you take that from them, and that essence ultimately is what I have brought into my PA. That's what's most important to me, because I guess all of us were in very unique situations of being business owners and also understanding how impactful a PA can be. Yeah. So you kind of get that a business owner actually is, no matter how wealthy or successful they are all stressed, and it can be lonely and it feels like it's just them. And so ultimately in 2008, I was like, I really want my own business. I don't know necessarily what that is. I know how to be a fab PA. Virtual assistant was becoming a word. And I also just super loved the impact. Like, I get a buzz out of helping people. And so when you've kind of made something happen or got something across the line and they're like, oh, wow, yeah, brilliant. Like, I really love that. And then just in terms of my PA itself, 2008 to 2012 was me on my own, networking, getting as many hours as I could at probably whatever it was then, £15 an hour, you know, that you go to BNI and you join all the things and you just like try and build your clients up. And I very much built my business organically. I'm not saying that's the right way to do it, but I literally got as much work as possible where there was too much for me to do. That was the bridge that led me to employ my first member of the team, which was Caroline, back in 2012. And yeah, it's interesting just in terms of I always had in my mind, I'm sure when everybody has a business in a particular industry, you spend time looking at what other people are doing and other businesses, and you're like, how are they doing this? And I used to spend a lot of my time constantly looking at Moneypenny, looking at Time, etc., like looking at these bigger businesses that were helping lots of business owners. And that is what really excites me. So I wanted the kind of culture, customer service, community of lots of people knowing how to do it really well and helping business owners. So yeah, that is how I guess the potted history of how we got to where we are. And then for anybody that's like, oh well, it's been a slow grind. It's been like 2012 to 2019. I probably got up to 9 or 10 people, but that was like fluctuating up and down, and then we'd employed too many. And so, yeah, 2019, we were probably around 10 people. 2020, obviously the world imploded, as it did for lots of us. And we did lose, like, probably we had a third of our PA clients left, 20% of our call answering clients left. So I was back to like we were stripping it all back. 5 of them on furlough, 5 of us running the business. I'm very grateful, thankful, lucky, and also put all the graft in that from 2020 summer onwards, we really found our groove and started to grow. We're kind of at like 30 people in our Manchester HQ.
Amazing. And all your team have always been employed. You haven't ever had any sort of subcontractors. It's always been an employed model.
Yes, it has. In the very beginning, in like 2011, I did work with another lady who had been recommended to me. She was like a single woman. She needed some time in the day. And that was like my very first kind of delegating my clients, like my own clients, to somebody else. And then I employed. But since working with Elaine, that lady in 2011, I've always gone down the employed route. And it's really interesting because I know it's very different from what most of our industry do. And to me, I always struggled from a perspective of having that. I mean, don't get me wrong, employees can also leave tomorrow, but just having that kind of tie-in, that relationship, that way of doing it in the MiPA way, that ability to build the culture, the playbooks, like how we wanted to do it. Because for me, it always felt like the natural thing was to employ people. And honestly, I feel like it was maybe 2016, 2017, and I actually had a realization one day. I was like, oh my God, actually, there's only really me doing it like this. And also for anybody out there thinking like, oh, wow, she's cracked it. I also spend a lot of time thinking, well, God, should I be doing this? Because I've now got employees, and actually if I had self-employed people, there would be a bit more flexibility, I would suspect, from a team perspective. But yeah, it's always felt like the obvious way to me. I never even considered the self-employed model. So, yeah.
Oh, so interesting. So tell us a bit about your team. What roles do they do for you internally, and what's the split between those supporting clients and working on the business?
We are heavy on delivery for sure inside our team. So we've got the PA support service, we've got our call handling service, and we've got a tiny team that do lead follow-up. So literally it's pretty much 50-50 with one or two in the follow-up team. So 50 with the rest of the team split between call and PA delivering the service. And in terms of my leadership team, I've got an operations manager who's like head of operations across the 3 departments. He is also now heading up our PA department. We just had a mini conversation prior to this call that we are in the midst of trying to understand what's the next evolution of our PA department, because the market's changing so much with all the different options out there. Yeah. So we have a head of our call and follow-up team as well. So he's like heads up our call center, if you like. And then we have a sales function, and I have an outsourced financial controller, and I have ultimately, I guess you would put on the org chart, an outsourced fractional integrator now. So somebody that's pulling together the where are we going next? What systems do we need to improve? Yeah. So I'd say that there's probably like 5 of us in a non-delivery role, and probably like 26, 27 in a delivery role.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. And how do you spend your time day to day? Give us a flavour of what you get up to running the business.
Yeah, when I read this question, when you'd sent me the notes, it does make you think. So one of the biggest time leverages I had at the beginning of the year was getting an outsourced financial controller in place. That was still a place that was taking my headspace, and it's never good when the owner of the business is chasing an invoice, that's for sure. So that has been one of the biggest time leverages, getting that part off me. So in terms of my roles and responsibility, I am very much still sales and marketing. There is no head of sales and marketing. I am that. I am the strategy. I am the deliverer of content and what are we going to campaign. So that is still me, and that is an evolution of how do we get me out of that and who and what. But that is me. The strategy of the business ultimately, where are we going next? What does 2028 look like? And I will be completely honest, because, and I'm sure this happens to lots of people, because my actual background was being a PA and an EA, that's what I know. There is a natural tendency for me to, when I say a natural tendency, it's my fault, to get back involved in the PA department. So if there's an issue or a win or something that needs solving, or a client that's like, why have you done it like this? Yeah, and that is a work in progress this year to go. But how do we extricate Emma from this department?
Into that still, yeah.
Yeah, and some of it is like, Emma, solve it for me, and some of it is my own fault. I worked with a business coach for a really long time called Martin Norbury, and he once said to me, because I have a tendency to look for things, and he's like, Emma, you don't need to look for problems, which I have to train myself not to do, because the big problems will always come and find you. If it's big enough, it's going to end up on your desk anyway. Like, we could all spend all day long looking at this response in an email. We can all spend our time looking for the problems, and that is definitely one of the biggest things I am working on, because that is a real sucker of time and energy. So yeah, like, I'm completely honest, that kind of final, how do we get that PA support service really with Emma out of it, but with the Emma way in it, which is an ongoing project for us with systems and playbook and training and coaching. Yeah.
That really resonates with me, because my background was exec PA as well, and that's it. I want the team delivering it in the way that I want it delivered, and it is hard because you've got people bringing in a lot of experience and they've been doing it their own way, and obviously they're incredibly good at what they do, but you do want your stamp on it. You want to give clients that experience, because ultimately that is what you're marketing to them. You're doing those sales calls, you're the one telling them how it's going to be. You want to make sure you're delivering on it.
Yeah, totally. So I do think the biggest learning curve for us at the moment, alongside all of the other options that have popped up in our industry of getting support, is how do we codify. The other day, like, one of a coach that we're working with, is like, how do we codify Emma into the PA team so that it's just trained in and natural, and that's like our ongoing project at the moment.
Yeah Awesome. And what about the things that you're still doing on a regular basis that perhaps you shouldn't be?
Yeah, well, certainly checking, reading, asking things in the PA department. I'm doing too much of that, and I need to be more regularly reminding myself that you just need to let the people get on and do what they're really good at. And again, if they need you, they will come and find you. Or if a problem is big enough, it will come and find you. Definitely with the marketing implementation, that is a project for me this year, because I am still doing probably too much, probably systematic marketing that I should now start to leverage and get someone to support on that as well. And I guess it's ultimately those two things. And I think the next level for us as well would be financially. I still am day to day looking at cash flow, cash position. So I think that will be a next evolution for us as well, having somebody with like full ownership rather than me directing what's happening here, somebody taking ownership. So I think like in the finance and in the marketing part of it, there is still work to do with actually someone just reporting what I need to know. Rather than me kind of still getting involved with that part.
They can be very time consuming roles, can't they? So definitely.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
So that's your team. So when you need to find new team members that you bring in, how do you recruit those? Are you bringing people in that are highly experienced, or are you kind of training them up from junior roles?
Yeah, so we have literally done all of that and tested everything. We've brought in people that have got the will, people that have got the kind of skill sets you'd need, that have not done it before, and trained them up. Where we are focused now, so basically in the past 17 years, we've done all of that. We've tried it with people that we think will just be a good fit and, and all of that jazz. Yeah. Our modus operandi now is that we are recruiting what we call executive assistants. Again, like full experience as an EA is not necessarily. So for example, we've got one team member working with us at the moment, Lucy. Now she had her own self-employed like recruitment business. She hasn't been an EA necessarily, but we knew that, okay, well, if for the past 8 years you've been self-employed recruiter, I can train and coach the skills that you need to be an EA. Do you know, it's not a big transition. Yeah. And obviously she's been in charge of her own like client acquisition, delivering, you get it. So our strategy is employing EAs or people with higher level experience that we know, well, okay, if they get that, they're going to know that all we need to do here is help people and solve problems ultimately at the end of the day. And we do also have a pathway internally where if somebody's potentially like in the call handling part and they have a natural want to progress, or if they're showing the kind of skills and attributes of getting more done, we've had quite a few people in our call team progress to be amazing EAs. So our kind of, the one thing we're not doing anymore is you've had a completely different role in a different industry, but we think we are not going down that route anymore. We need to have the kind of all the boxes ticked of you do also get it.
Yeah.
So in terms of yes, exactly. And in terms of how we find them is literally nothing complicated. We use Indeed, and we have a recruitment process, which is kind of some steps to it, like sending a video first, asking some questions so we can really refine down. But yeah, we use Indeed for all of our recruitment, and my ops manager internally does that recruitment.
So moving on from the team, after following you for a long time, I know that you're a big believer in self-development. You've already mentioned today working with a business coach. I know from watching all your videos that you invest a lot of time in reading business books, working with coaches, immersing yourself in sort of paid communities and things. How much time a week or month do you think you spend on these activities, and how have they helped develop you as a leader over all these years?
When I read that question also, I was like, oh my God, it's actually way more than I thought it would be. So I reckon that I probably spend definitely a minimum of 5 hours a week on what I would call personal development. And one core part of that is, so I've talked about it loads in content in my podcast, but I'm a big Brendan Bouchard fan. And he has an app called Growth Day. And it is literally the best $50 I spend every single month. And in it, there is a daily, he calls it a daily fire, but there is a daily 15, 20 minute thing that always is the thing I need to hear. So it's about either making a bold move or making this week the best week you're going to have. Or so every morning I listen to Brendan. So there's probably like 20 minutes every day. I do have a coach. Well, I have kind of 2 different coaches, so probably like there's another hour or so as a minimum, probably more at the moment there a week. And then just generally if I do the big dog walk with Ralph, if I'm at the gym, my thing is to listen to a Tony Robbins podcast, and I love it. And Yeah, I mean, I think we're all different, and I don't think we all resonate with it in the same way. Like my partner, I mean, he knows what Brendan Bouchard's voice is like in great detail, but he's like, God, do we have to listen to this guy again? He's not into it at all. But I really thrive off it. Yeah, I don't, there's probably a deeper thing to delve into there, but I really get a lot from definitely first thing in the morning, setting myself up in the right way, and really that like the habit of, okay, because I mean, I'm sure, I have it, you have it, Holly. I'm sure lots of people listening to podcasts have it, that some days you feel like, why am I doing this? And some days it's like, I'm going to take over the world. And I think for me personally, without getting my mindset in the best shape and way and, positioning it to have a good day, regardless of what's going on or what client things come your way or what clients cancelled, that for me is really key on showing up really like well in my business and being a good leader. So I love it. Like, honestly, I think I would pick going to a personal development conference like a Unleashed Power Within or a Brendan Bouchard thing over going on a normal holiday, because I honestly, it is a bit of an addiction for me. I do love it. But yeah, it definitely, it helps me to be better in all areas of my life.
Yeah, I'm the same. I absolutely love it. I think for me, growing my business, it's been such a journey, and where I've come from personally with how my life's changed, and there's just so much involved with it, and I've had therapy and done all these things, and I just think you get so much out of working on yourself. And even if you're doing it with the thing of, I want to improve my personal life, it impacts on your business. Or if you do a business thing, it impacts on your personal life as well. And it is just improving yourself and your mindset as a whole and just growing. And I think if you want to be a good leader and serve your clients well, you've got to keep educating yourself and looking at things from a different perspective, and just growing as a person. And I think it's absolutely fascinating. I'm the same as you. I could spend hours. I have to sometimes stop doing that and make sure I focus on the actual work, otherwise I spend all of my time getting inspired and motivated, but not actually doing the thing.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think even if it's just a 10-20 minutes a day of check it, because where your mind is everything, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It can move you forwards, it can take you down. I'm in a mastermind with Nigel Bottrell, and there's one thing he says to me when I'm like talking about, we go into the next meeting and where we're at, what's happened since, oh God, well this has happened or this has happened or blah blah blah. And he said it to me quite regularly now. He's like, Emma, just be careful what you tell yourself. He went, because where you are now, God, you would have dreamt of being here 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But now, now it feels really difficult. Yeah. And it's so true. Like, gosh, in 2019 when there was 10 of us and this was and is my dream. And now it's like, bloody hell. Like, well, where are we going next? And it's, and just that phrase of like, be careful what you tell yourself, because hang on a minute, where you're at now is great. So let's really just bed that in and go, well, what do we need to solve next? Yeah, your mindset.
It's that balance, isn't it? A focus thing, of looking forward, seeing where you're going, but pausing and reflecting on where you've come and what you've achieved and the lessons you've learned along the way. It's, very important to have the balance of both.
So true. And just on that, I don't know if you've read it, but Dan Sullivan's book, The Gap and the Gain.
No.
Do you know that, honestly, Holly, you will love it. It's my go-to when I am thinking that I've created not the best business, or I'm like, what even is this? And The Gap and the Gain, just very quickly. So Dan Sullivan created Strategic Coach. The book is just all about the people who live in the gap are constantly like, yes, I got here, but it's always about what about next? Whereas the people that live in the gain, they very much go, well, okay, well, in the past 5 years, I've achieved all of these things. What's next? And being in the gain totally shifts your perspective of from Holly when you've had the idea for the business to what Holly's been through and started now. Like, there's so many achievements, lessons learned, and actually, okay, well, I've got here, so I can definitely get there. Whereas a lot of us are, God, well, this is not enough. This is not enough money. This is not enough clients. This is not, honestly, the book is brilliant. It really is.
Sounds great. Well, I've just made a note, written it down. So
Definitely.
Get that one ordered.
It's good for those days when you're like, I've not achieved enough. Well, actually, you have here.
Yeah. Oh, fabulous. Thank you. And the other thing that obviously I know you've become really focused on over the last couple of years is health and fitness. And what impact has that had on your business? Has it changed the way you approach your work?
Yes, it has made me way more hyper aware of how I treat my body, one, but also how that connects to me being good at work, like being a leader, making progress, moving forwards. I guess so. I did like one of those kind of transformation fitness things where you take the pictures and stuff, but it wasn't about the pictures actually. So I dropped some weight, but it was about the process of dropping this weight, and in it, my habits became so much better. So whereas like, I don't know, you have a tricky day and you might go, I'm going to eat dinner and have a glass of wine, and you feel like you're decompressing. I remember quite specifically, I'd been on it for about 4 months, and the first couple of months I'd kind of teetered around with it, and then I really got into it. And in the January, I was having a meeting with my ops manager, and I said to him, oh my God, Matt, I was like, I'm following this program, walking 12, 14,000 steps every day. I've not really had a drink at all, and I feel great. And at the time we were talking about some tricky things that were going on in the business. And I was like, and even now I don't feel there's like a concern because I want my business to do well, but I don't feel stressed.
Yeah.
And I think it's when I had that conversation with him, I really had my God, I do feel very different to previously when I might choose the wrong things to make myself feel a bit better in the moment.
Yeah.
So I think the key thing is that I've really learned that just the basics of my steps, so making sure I move every day, even if I don't get to the gym, that is enough to know that I'm feeling a lot better from it. And obviously that's a really great time to listen to whatever you want to listen to.
Yeah.
But for me, I was starting to go, oh, well, I'm busy, so I'll just go to the gym at the weekend. I won't. And I was putting me last. Whereas in this program, because I had a fitness coach and every Thursday I had to check in with her to say, well, have you hit the steps? Have you hit the workouts? Have you hit the calories? So I had this accountability. And as those weeks progressed and I was doing the things, the way I felt was so unbelievably different to prior, when I would be like, well, I'll skip the gym. I'll do a bit longer in front of my laptop. Yeah, I felt so different. And so it wasn't about how I looked per se, although that also then gives an element of confidence.
Yeah.
It was that kind of daily, oh wow, actually my body feels so much better than it used to.
Yes.
And that was a real game changer. Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
incredible. It's a wonderful achievement. It's I'm not quite there yet. I'm trying to do baby steps. Sleep is the thing for me. I've done about probably a month now of just going to bed at like 9, 10 o'clock every night. And again, I feel like it's really transformed the way I work, the way I think, my ability to deal with things, because I've never prioritized my sleep. I've always told myself I'm someone who doesn't need it, and actually turns out I do.
Oh my God, I would almost argue that is the first thing because it has the biggest impact on you.
Yeah.
And obviously when you are moving and you're not drinking as much, your sleep gets better. But when I got my Whoop band, it really dialed me into how much better you feel when you've had that 8 hours sleep, 7 hours sleep of just uninterrupted. And that consistency of going to bed at the same time. Honestly, I would almost argue that is definitely the most important thing to start with, because you just, you feel so much better.
Yeah, my family are finding it really funny because I've always been someone who's a total night owl, and it's like, oh, I can't stay up too much longer. I need to be in bed in half an hour. But just that ability to now wake up in the morning without the alarm and to just feel like jumping out of bed and hours work done before the kids are up, because I'm owning the mornings rather than just the day running away with me. And being really strict about trying not to work in the evenings, and it's made a big difference. So
Oh, I love that. No, honestly, that is great, because I think there's loads of people listening to this going, I do all of those things. And honestly, when you start to get into the rhythm, you feel great. That's great.
That's it, yeah. And for a long time also, you had your YouTube channel, MyTV, where you posted regular content giving tips and advice to business owners, and you've shared a lot about your journey, which is obviously where I've seen a lot of the things that you've shared. But you've now got the Focus on the Fun Stuff podcast, which I couldn't say that properly, the Focus on the Fun Stuff podcast, which you launched last year. How have these contributed to the growth of your business?
Massively. They're probably both some of the single most important things I've done for my business. And interesting, last night I was thinking, do you know what, I need to bring back an element of my TV of me just talking about how, like, helping business owners, because at the moment I'm doing a lot of interviewing of other business owners, so I'm probably going to kind of do an element of both. So I know that you are doing or have done one of the Daniel Priestley programs. And when I started those videos, I was on his key person of influence, and it was kind of a hybrid of that and some stuff that Nigel Boschel always did, like a weekly video. And I found it, not easy is the wrong word, but I found it a more natural place to go, well, I know I can do this. I'll talk for 5 minutes and we'll just keep it going. And the videos have definitely been, we've never been a business that's like doing loads on paid ads, PPC, and a lot of our work has come from meeting lots of people and then that being reinforced by them and being able to consume lots of stuff about us online and position us as the expert. So the videos have been the best thing. And I guess they both worked in different ways, in that the videos are very much me to camera. I'm the expert, advising, helping, giving value. And then the really interesting thing about Focus on the Fun Stuff, and it is I'm so glad I've started it, is that it gives you access to other people's communities. So when I'm I'm interviewing a lot of guests now, and the whole ethos of Focus on the Fun Stuff is, I think it's quite a lonely place. I think a lot of business owners are like, why did I start this? And I wanted to get people on it who can go, no, this is how you get to focus on the things you love in your business. So the podcast has given us access to other people's listeners, communities, people that love them. And then, so it's been a slightly different approach with it. And I do think now, like, the one thing I would say as well, just on the podcast, and I know I'm preaching to you, the converted here, Ollie, but I thought, God, podcast, everybody's got a podcast. It turns out everybody doesn't have a podcast. And actually, honestly, apparently, if you get past episode 10 and or you're going for more than 6 months, you're like in this rarefied group of podcasters now. Like, there actually aren't, like, a lot of the podcasts on the platforms have got a number of episodes and have stopped. Whereas the ones that rhythmically put episodes out, they are actually few and far between in the grand scheme of things. So for anybody out there thinking about doing it, it's not like a saturated space at all. So both of those have been instrumental for us in kind of not just lead generation, but also just that kind of reinforcing, oh, that's the right person to speak to, or that's the right place to go.
Yeah, and one of the points, we actually did a workshop on YouTube. We had someone come in and talk about the benefits of it for VA businesses, but we talked about the fact that the results from YouTube are searchable on Google, like they're great for SEO, and obviously all the stuff we put out on social media all the time, it just disappears, right? But actually, if someone searches for something you've made a video on, it's there forever. People can find it 3, 5, 10 years down the line, and you still might pop up top of Google for that particular thing. So it's well worth doing, even if you do a bunch of it and get some content on there. And just like you say, that credibility piece of people be able to go and look you up and see that actually you do know what you're talking about. You've got this expertise. I think it's so beneficial.
Oh my gosh, totally. One thing I do know that I need is someone that really knows what they're doing with SEO on YouTube. So if anybody doesn't know anyone doing that, or if you do, Holly, that's definitely an area I know I need to get.
I do know. I have an SEO expert. Yeah, absolutely. I can send you some.
Okay, fab. That's true.
Brilliant. Yeah. Oh dear. So yeah, let's talk a little bit then about like your reflections on your journey, because I'm sure you've spent a lot of time thinking about this. But what are some of the highs and lows that you've had? Because you've been running your business for quite a long time, and I'm sure, like all of us, it's an emotional roller coaster. But what are some of the key things that you'd pick out of that journey?
It's definitely a high for me every time we win a client or we get a client win, like both of those, like that is an ongoing high for me. I would say that in August of 2021, we moved from our previous office to where we are now, which is kind of like double, triple the size. And that was quite a moment for me where I feel like, oh, we're really motoring on, like that kind of, it was a bit of a demarcation line of, we're entering the next phase now. That was a good one. Most recently, Daniel Priestley saying yes to being on my podcast. Like, I don't know about you, but there's some people in my life who you just fangirl around. And that was like a really good one. And I think this is like the highs and the lows as well, did you say, in terms of what they've been? I think this year we're definitely kind of in a state of like, what's next for us? How are we going to improve our services? And I think one of the things that I have reflected on a lot and have had played back to me as well by some of the people that I'm working with is that I think the lows would be when I haven't leaned into having tough conversations, whether it's with clients, whether they're the wrong client and you know it, but you just keep it because it's a client on the books. And in the end, it ends up biting you on the bum, as you always knew it was going to do. Or even with team members, I think at the moment I'm doing a piece of work with a guy called Mike. He's a fractional integrator. He's helping us kind of figure out what the next stage is. And he keeps saying to me, like, Emma, one of the problems in this business is you are too nice. But being too nice has like loads of connotations. Like then team members don't really know what good looks like because you don't actually say when they're not doing the right thing. And yes, I think one thing I'm working on now and reflecting on is that, to be fair, a lot of lows that we've had have come from being too soft in things, whether it's letting people not pay their invoices for too long because they keep promising, or whether you let somebody in the team keep going, even though, you know, in your gut, you're like, gosh, this person is not part of the MiPA journey. The client thing, do you know, I do think, yeah, that is a skill that I am actively, and that's not about being a horrible person, but I guess it's just being more direct in that this business is to provide the life I want, my team members want, and then anything that's getting in the way of that, really being super clear on, well, where are we going? What kind of people need to be on this journey with us? So yeah, being too nice, that sounds like a stupid answer to the lows, but I guess it's just not really leaning into the difficult conversations to have. I need to and should have done more of that. Those have caused some of the lows, definitely.
Yeah, I can definitely empathise with those. I think having those tough conversations, particularly with team members, is one of the hardest parts of the job. I certainly find that, and I know a lot of the AAs I talk to, it's the same thing. At the end of the day, we're all nice people. We like helping people. That's why we do what we do. We don't want to be in a situation where we're saying to someone either you're not good enough, or you don't make the cut, or I don't need you anymore. And it's really, really hard. But ultimately your responsibility is to the business and you have to do the right thing by that. And that feeling when you know you've got to do something like that is just horrible. I've been there many times myself, so I completely get it.
Totally.
Thanks for sharing. I think it's good for people to hear it, and it doesn't matter how many years you've been doing it for. It might get a little bit easier or you get braver about doing it, but it's still really, really hard.
Oh my God, totally. And one of the things that Mike Jones is doing with me and the team now is, of course, people have job descriptions and roles, but actually getting super clear with everyone on what like the top 3 deliverables are for them. Because I think one of the things that makes it really hard sometimes, certainly for me, in terms of this isn't good enough, this needs to be better, is you don't really have a very clear, but this is your top out, like these are the top 3 things you need to achieve every week. And if you get like super clear on what that is, I now realise it makes that conversation so much easier because you're just relating it back now to, well, we said we need to X, Y, and Z, and that's not happening. So whereas when you don't have that, and we, you know, God, when we were growing the business, a lot of it, some of our job descriptions and what we were letting people do was just rubbish, quite frankly. And so I think having like that top 3 now it just makes the whole thing way more like non-emotive, transparent. It's like, oh, but that's the thing. So it's just dead easy to have that conversation. No, vague is definitely never good.
Oh dear. So what's next for MiPA? I know you sort of touched upon there that you're obviously reviewing strategy and things at the moment, but what are your own sort of long-term goals over the next few years?
I would love, I say this all, whenever I finish a podcast episode for Focus on the Fun Stuff, I always say, like, I would love this to be my full-time job. I think in another life, I would be a TV presenter or something. So definitely Focus on the Fun Stuff is a personal goal as well. I would love to really go all in on it, grow it, just have it as a real reference point. Again, because I like helping people, just as a real reference point. And this podcast has really tangible, helpful things for business owners. So growing the podcast to like a top 3%, podcast top 1%, that is definitely a personal goal for me. With MiPA, we are fully in the middle of what does 2028 look like. And part of what I love is like training and coaching and helping people. So we're kind of working through what that looks like in terms of helping. So I have a Sunday night newsletter that goes out called Win the Week, because I think if you win the week, you win the year, and what that looks like to help people to win the week, probably in a coaching or a course style. And so I guess we have a plan of how we're going to grow our service, our 3 services, and then what else will happen kind of in the MiPA world of helping business owners, whether that's, you know, information, courses, coaching. We're kind of working that strategy through as well at the moment.
Super exciting. Well, I can't wait to see where it all goes. Oh, well, just so in wrapping up then, I guess, so what character traits do you think are necessary for someone who wants to build a bigger business and grow a team?
Character traits are absolutely tons of resilience. Like that is probably number one, because although I can be too nice, I have got loads of resilience. I know that, otherwise I wouldn't still be here, definitely. So I think resilience, but tied in with, I think the most important thing is the vision of where you're going, because without that, it makes everything really difficult. So on a day where your clients have cancelled and a team member's not turned in, those things become really difficult if you don't see what the bigger picture is of where you really want to go, and that's not just about revenue growth, it's about, you know, the kind of life I want or the kind of business I want to build. So I think getting hyper clear on, well, this is a bad day, but I know that this is what I want from IPA, so I just need to take the steps. I think that resilience and that kind of clear vision on it is really important. And I think just kind of echoing back to the being a nice person, I think just being like, we're very transparent with our communication at MiPA. So I think transparency as a leader, but I think also being really clear on what good looks like. So one thing I have learned is when you're both vague in your business, whether that's with team or clients, it's not good for anyone. And actually what high performers really thrive off is this is like clarity on what good looks like. So I would say resilience, clear vision of where you're actually going, because that helps on the bad days. And internally, in terms of growing a team, whether self-employed, whether employed, transparency in where you're going. So getting them on the journey, transparency of what's going on, but also just being really clear as a leader on what good looks like, because it definitely makes it a lot easier for everybody.
Yeah, love those. Great. And what do you feel running MiPA has given you personally?
Oh my goodness, so much experience, so much. Wow, I mean, it has shaped my life, and not just because it's like my baby and it's the main business that I've had for 17 years. It's just, as a person, I have grown immeasurably. And that from 2008 to being kind of quite I still would class myself as an introvert. Like, I like to go home and have my quiet time when you've been talking all day. But from being so quiet that it's kind of, I know that I'm not going to grow a business if I stay like that. Like, I've definitely, the past 17 years have been me pushing myself in difficult situations. So it's just, my God, it's completely shaped who I am, what I do, how I do things. It's incredible. Been wild.
Finally, what would be your top tip or best piece of advice you'd give someone who's considering expanding their VA business by building a team?
Wow, what would be the top tip? I think there would be part of this advice would be really be clear on what you need your team to deliver, whether that's in hours billed, whether it's in the deliver, like the service, how that is, the Holly way of doing things, the Emma way of doing things. But definitely the number one thing I've learned is financially getting super clear on the numbers. We had a tiny conversation about that prior to this episode, but getting really clear on what you want out of the business as the business owner, because that is definitely most important, because without it, nothing else happens. And just understanding then financially what you need, if you're going to expand, what you need those team members to deliver to make that happen. Because I've certainly, and I know it was meant to be one quick piece of advice, but I've certainly grown my business at times where it was just like, keep adding clients, keep adding it on, it'll all work itself out in the end. And it doesn't. Like, what you end up with is a kind of a pot of like, oh gosh, well, these people are paying me this amount. That's not. So just I think I would be clearer if I was doing it again in terms of what Emma wants out of it, and then what everything needs to generate to make that happen.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's brilliant advice. And I talk quite often to people about that knowing your numbers element. It's so important. And I think a lot of people shy away from it and they're scared about it. No, I'm not great with it. You have to get good with it. And if you can do that from the get-go, you'll be in a much better position.
You do. I think a lot of people just feel, don't they? Like, oh, well, that feels like a good hourly rate, or that feels like a good item, but you just really need to know it, like you've said. Yeah.
Do the maths, get a spreadsheet out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time today. It's been a fabulous conversation. I've really enjoyed following your journey and learned a huge amount from you. You've been an amazing inspiration for me. When we met a few months ago, I was fangirling. So it's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you today. But yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
Oh my gosh, Holly, thank you for having me on. I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Visionary VA podcast.
I hope you're walking away with fresh ideas and inspiration to scale your VA business. Don't forget to check out our free mini course on building solid business foundations, perfect for setting your VA agency up for success without the overwhelm. You'll find the link in the show notes. If you enjoyed the show, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a review. See you next week.